The invasion begins. The skies over New York City erupted in a dazzling, terrifying spectacle of light and sound. Massive ships, their hulls gleaming with an otherworldly sheen, emerged from swirling vortexes that tore through the fabric of space itself. On the streets below, millions of faces turned skyward, a collective gasp rising from the stunned populace. In the heart of the Pentagon, General Evelyn Stryker strode purposefully into the war room, her steely gaze sweeping over the chaotic scene before her. Screens flickered with incoming data streams, and panicked voices filled the air as military personnel scrambled to respond to the unprecedented threat. "Status report," Stryker barked, her voice cutting through the din like a knife. A young lieutenant, his face pale with shock, turned to address her. "Ma'am, we're detecting multiple incursions across the globe. New York, London, Beijing, Moscow. They're hitting every major city simultaneously." Stryker's jaw clenched as she absorbed the information. This was no mere attack. It was a full-scale invasion. "What about our orbital defenses?" The lieutenant shook his head, defeat evident in his eyes. "Neutralized, Mom. The alien ships cut through them like they weren't even there." As if to punctuate the dire situation, a deafening boom shook the building. Dust rained down from the ceiling, and several officers stumbled, struggling to maintain their footing. "They're here," someone whispered, fear palpable in their voice. Stryker's mind raced, years of training and experience kicking into high gear. "Get me the president," she ordered, her tone brooking no argument. "And someone find out what the hell these things want." Across the Atlantic, in the bowels of a secret facility beneath the streets of London, Dr. Aisha Patel watched in horror as the alien ships decimated Earth's defenses. Her hands flew across a holographic interface, desperately trying to make sense of the data flooding her systems. "This can't be happening," she muttered, her brilliant mind struggling to comprehend the sheer scale of the technological gap between humanity and their attackers. "Their energy signatures are off the charts. It's like they're rewriting the laws of physics." A hand clasped her shoulder, and Aisha turned to find the grim face of her colleague, Dr. Marcus Chen. "We need to face facts, Aisha," he said, his voice heavy with resignation. "Everything we've worked for, all our advances, they're nothing compared to what these aliens have." Aisha shook her head vehemently, refusing to accept defeat. "No, Marcus. There has to be something we've missed, some weakness we can exploit." Her eyes lit up with sudden inspiration. "The Titan project. If we can get it operational." Marcus's expression darkened. "Titan is years away from completion. And you know it. We don't have that kind of time." Before Aisha could argue further, an alarm blared through the facility. Red warning lights bathed the lab in an ominous glow, and a computerized voice announced, "Perimeter breach detected. All personnel evacuate immediately." In orbit high above the Earth, Fleet Admiral Zarkax of the Galactic Confederacy watched with smug satisfaction as his forces systematically dismantled humanity's pitiful attempts at resistance. His massive flagship, a craft that dwarfed even the largest human structures, hung in space like a predator poised to strike. "Pathetic," Zarkax sneered, his multiple eyes blinking in sequence as he observed the carnage on the view screens before him. "To think we actually considered these primitives a potential threat." His second-in-command, Sub-Commander Vexala, approached with a report. "Admiral, our forces have neutralized 87% of the humans' military capabilities. Their governments are in disarray, and we're detecting widespread panic among the civilian population." Zarkax's mouthparts clicked in what passed for a smile among his species. "Excellent. Prepare the harvesting ships. We'll strip this world bare, and be on our way before the solar cycle is complete." Vexilla hesitated, a flicker of concern passing across her features. "Sir, with all due respect, shouldn't we at least attempt communication? The Galactic Charter requires." "The Charter be damned," Zarkax roared, rounding on his subordinate. "These humans are barely more than animals. They have nothing to offer the Confederacy except their resources and their subjugation. His voice lowered to a menacing hiss. Unless you'd like to explain to the High Council why we wasted time and resources on diplomacy with insects. Vexella backed down, bowing her head in submission. No, Admiral. I understand. As the alien invasion force pressed its advantage, pockets of human resistance fought desperately against the overwhelming odds. In the skies over London, Royal Air Force pilot Sarah Banshee O'Connor pushed her jet to its limits, weaving through a hail of energy blasts that lit up the night sky. "This is Banshee," she called into her comm, her voice strained with exertion. "I've got 3 bogeys on my 6. Anybody got a clear shot?" Static filled the channel, punctuated by screams and explosions. Sarah's heart sank as she realized she might be the only one left in her squadron. Gritting her teeth, she threw her jet into a series of impossible maneuvers, trying to shake her pursuers. For a moment, it seemed to work. Then, without warning, her instruments went haywire. The jet shuddered violently, caught in some kind of energy field emanating from one of the alien ships. No. Sarah frantically worked the controls, but it was no use. She was being pulled inexorably toward the massive alien craft looming before her. As her jet was swallowed by the cavernous hangar bay of the alien ship, Sarah's last thought before losing consciousness was a silent prayer that someone, somewhere, would find a way to turn the tide of this seemingly hopeless war. Back in Washington, D.C., President Elena Rodriguez stood before a hastily assembled group of world leaders, their faces grim on the array of screens before her. The weight of the entire planet seemed to rest on her shoulders as she addressed her peers. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice steady despite the chaos unfolding around them. "We face an unprecedented threat to our very existence. But I refuse to believe that this is the end of humanity. We have faced extinction before, from nature, from our own follies, and we have always found a way to survive." A murmur of agreement rippled through the assembled leaders, but it was tinged with fear and uncertainty. "I propose," Rodriguez continued, her eyes blazing with determination, "that we pool all of our resources, all of our knowledge, and mount a unified defense against these invaders. We must set aside our differences and stand together, or we will surely fall divided." As the world leaders debated and planned, Dr. Aisha Patel and her team raced against time in their underground facility. They had managed to evade the initial alien assault, but they knew it was only a matter of time before they were discovered. "The Titan project is our only hope," Aisha insisted, her fingers flying over holographic displays as she made rapid calculations. "If we can accelerate the final phase of development." Dr. Chen shook his head, frustration evident in his voice. "Even if we could, who would pilot it? The neural interface requires years of training, and we don't have a single qualified candidate." Aisha paused, a wild idea forming in her mind. What if we could compress that training? Use some kind of accelerated learning program? Before Chen could respond, the facility shook with another impact. Dust and debris rained down from the ceiling, and the lights flickered ominously. "We're out of time," Chen said, his voice grim. "Whatever we're going to do, we need to do it now." As humanity teetered on the brink of annihilation, the stage was set for an epic confrontation. The aliens, confident in their superiority, had no idea that their greatest challenge was yet to come. For in the depths of despair, the human spirit would prove to be more resilient, more ingenious, and more determined than anyone, human or alien, could have possibly imagined. The fate of Earth hung in the balance, and the next few hours would determine whether humanity would rise to meet its greatest challenge or be consigned to the dustbin of galactic history. Project Titan unveiled. The low hum of advanced machinery filled the cavernous underground chamber, a stark contrast to the chaos raging on the surface above. Dr. Aisha Patel stood before a massive view screen, her eyes fixed on the slowly rotating hologram of humanity's last, best hope, Project Titan. The ship was unlike anything ever conceived by human minds. Its sleek, angular design spoke of both beauty and lethality, a perfect fusion of form and function. But it was what lay beneath the surface that truly set Titan apart. Neural interfacing is at 67% efficiency, Dr. Chen reported, his voice tight with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. The quantum probability drive is stable, and the dark matter containment field is holding. Aisha nodded, allowing herself a moment of pride. They had done the impossible, pushing the boundaries of human knowledge and engineering to create something that, just a few years ago, would have been dismissed as pure science fiction. "What's the status on the weapon systems?" she asked, turning to face the team of haggard but determined scientists and engineers gathered around her. A young physicist, Dr. Yuki Tanaka, stepped forward. "The gravitational singularity cannon is operational, but we're still having issues with power distribution. If we fire at full capacity, it could overload the entire system." Aisha frowned, her mind racing through potential solutions. They were so close, but with the alien invasion in full swing, close wasn't good enough. They needed Titan to be perfect, and they needed it now. A thunderous explosion rocked the facility, sending tremors through the floor and causing several team members to stumble. Alarms blared as red warning lights bathed the chamber in an eerie glow. "They've found us," Chen said, his face pale with fear. "We're out of time." Aisha's jaw set in determination. "Then we launch now. Prep Titan for immediate deployment." "But we haven't even tested the neural interface," Chen protested. "We have no idea if a human pilot can handle the strain." "We don't have a choice," Aisha shot back. "It's now or never." She turned to address the team. "I need a volunteer. Someone to pilot Titan." A hush fell over the assembled group, each person acutely aware of the monumental risk such a task would entail. The neural interface was designed to connect a human mind directly to Titan systems, allowing for unprecedented control and reaction times. But the potential for mental overload, even brain damage, was high. After a moment that seemed to stretch into eternity, a voice rang out from the back of the room. "I'll do it." The crowd parted to reveal a tall, lean man with piercing green eyes and a shock of prematurely gray hair. Major Jack Harper, former test pilot and current head of Titan's flight systems integration. Aisha felt a mixture of relief and apprehension wash over her. Harper was the ideal candidate. His experience as a pilot and his intimate knowledge of Titan's systems made him uniquely qualified. But she also knew the risks better than anyone. "Jack, are you sure?" she asked, searching his face for any sign of doubt. Harper's expression remained resolute. "Someone has to do it, Luck. Might as well be me." As the team rushed to prepare both Titan and Harper for launch, Aisha couldn't shake the feeling that they were embarking on a journey that would change the course of human history, for better or worse. In a sealed chamber adjacent to Titan's docking bay, Harper lay on a medical table, surrounded by a dizzying array of equipment. Electrodes were attached to his head and body, monitoring every aspect of his physiological state. Dr. Chen stood over him, making final adjustments to the neural interface, a sleek, almost organic-looking device that would soon be attached to Harper's skull. "Last chance to back out," Chen said, his attempt at humor falling flat in the tense atmosphere. Harper managed a wry smile. "Not a chance, Doc. Let's light this candle." With a nod, Chen began the interface procedure. Harper gritted his teeth as he felt the device latch onto his skull, a sensation of ice-cold tendrils seeping into his brain. For a moment, panic threatened to overwhelm him as alien sensations and information flooded his consciousness. Then, suddenly, clarity. Harper gasped as his mind expanded, connecting with Titan's vast array of systems. He could feel the thrum of the quantum probability drive, the pulsing power of the dark matter containment field. It was overwhelming, exhilarating, and terrifying all at once. "Neural link established," Chen announced, his voice filled with awe. "Synchronization at 89%. My God, it's actually working." In the control room, Aisha watched the readings with bated breath. Harper's vital signs were stable, his brainwaves showing increased activity, but no signs of distress. It seemed the impossible had been achieved. "Major Harper," she called over the comm. "How do you feel?" There was a moment of silence. Then Harper's voice came through, tinged with a sense of wonder. "I feel everything, Doc. It's like I've become Titan. I can sense every system, every component. It's incredible." Aisha allowed herself a small smile of triumph. "All right, Jack. Let's see what this ship can do. Prepare for launch sequence." As the final preparations were made, the alien forces above drew ever closer. The facility's defenses, formidable as they were, wouldn't hold out much longer against the onslaught. In Titan's cockpit, Harper sat encased in a web of sensors and control interfaces, his mind seamlessly connected to the ship's eye. As the launch countdown began, he felt a surge of anticipation mixed with fear. They were about to take humanity's fate into their hands, armed with technology they barely understood. "Launch in T-10, 9, 8. The AI's calm voice echoed through the ship and the control room. Aisha clenched her fists, silently praying that all their work, all their sacrifices, would prove worth it. 3, 2, 1. Ignition. With a roar that shook the very foundations of the facility, Titan came to life. The quantum probability drive engaged, warping space-time around the ship. In a flash of blinding light and a thunderous crack, Titan vanished from the launch bay. Moments later, it reappeared in the skies above London, directly in the path of an advancing alien fleet. For a heartbeat, both sides seemed frozen in shock. The aliens, caught off guard by the sudden appearance of an unknown vessel. The humans, scarcely believing that their desperate gambit had worked. Then, all hell broke loose. Alien ships opened fire, their energy weapons lancing towards Titan. But Harper, his reflexes enhanced by the neural interface, reacted with impossible speed. Titan danced through the barrage, its advanced shielding deflecting what few shots came close. "Weapons hot," Harper announced, his voice eerily calm. "Engaging gravitational singularity cannon." A beam of distorted space erupted from Titan's bow, tearing through the fabric of reality. It struck the lead alien ship, and for a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, with a silent flash, the massive vessel imploded, crushed by forces beyond human comprehension. In the Galactic Confederacy flagship, Admiral Zarkax watched in disbelief as one of his most powerful ships was annihilated. "Impossible," he hissed, his multiple eyes blinking rapidly in agitation. "What manner of weapon is this?" Sub-Commander Vexella approached, her voice tinged with fear. "Admiral, we're detecting energy signatures unlike anything in our databases. This human ship, it's operating on principles we don't understand." Zarkax's mandibles clicked in fury. "I don't care what it is. Destroy it. Throw everything we have at it." As the alien fleet regrouped, preparing to focus their full might on this unexpected threat, Harper and Titan stood ready. In control rooms and command centers around the world, humans watched with bated breath, daring to hope that the tide of battle might finally be turning in their favor. The stage was set for a confrontation that would determine the fate of not just Earth, but potentially the entire galaxy. Humanity's ingenuity and determination, embodied in the magnificent and terrible form of Titan, was about to be put to the ultimate test. Titan's first strike. The skies above London blazed with the fury of interstellar warfare. Titan, humanity's last hope, weaved through a storm of alien energy blasts, its movements fluid and precise. Inside the cockpit, Major Jack Harper's consciousness melded seamlessly with the ship's systems, his thoughts translating into action faster than any human reflex could allow. "Multiple hostiles, 3 o'clock high," the ship's AI announced, its voice calm amidst the chaos. Harper didn't need to respond verbally. His intent flowed through the neural interface, and Titan responded instantly. The ship barrel rolled, narrowly avoiding a barrage of plasma bolts. In the same motion, it brought its lateral energy cannons to bear, returning fire with pinpoint accuracy. 3 alien fighters erupted in silent explosions, their debris scattering across the upper atmosphere. In the underground control center, Dr. Aisha Patel watched the battle unfold on massive holographic displays. Her heart raced with a mixture of pride and fear as she saw Titan in action. "It's working," she breathed, scarcely believing her eyes. "It's actually working." Dr. Chen nodded, his fingers flying over holographic controls as he monitored Titan's systems. "Harper's neural sync is holding steady at 92%. The quantum probability drive is performing beyond our wildest expectations." A cheer went up from the assembled technicians and scientists. For the first time since the invasion began, hope blossomed in their hearts. But Aisha knew better than to celebrate too soon. "What about the gravitational singularity cannon?" she asked, her eyes never leaving the tactical display. Chen's expression grew serious. "Power levels are fluctuating. We can't risk more than a few shots without potentially overloading the system." Aisha nodded grimly. They had given Harper humanity's most advanced weapon, but it was far from perfect. Every shot with the singularity cannon was a calculated risk. High above, the battle raged on. Titan danced through the alien formation, its advanced technology allowing it to anticipate and counter the enemy's every move. But the sheer number of alien ships was overwhelming. For every vessel Titan destroyed, 3 more seemed to take its place. In the Galactic Confederacy flagship, Admiral Zar Kax watched the battle with growing fury. His mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of agitation among his species. "How is this possible?" he snarled. "One primitive ship cannot stand against the might of our entire fleet." Sub-Commander Vexilla approached cautiously, her posture submissive. "Admiral, our analysis suggests that the human vessel is utilizing technology far beyond what we believe them capable of. Its maneuverability and weapon systems are unprecedented." Zarkax's multiple eyes narrowed. "Are you suggesting that these humans have somehow surpassed us technologically?" "Impossible." "Not impossible, Admiral," Vexilla replied, her voice steady despite her fear. "Merely improbable. We may have gravely underestimated this species." For a moment, Zarkax was silent, his alien mind racing through the implications. Then, with a hiss of determination, he made his decision. "Bring the World Breaker online. We'll see how this human ship fares against the full might of the Confederacy." Back on Titan, Harper felt a surge of confidence as another alien cruiser fell to his attacks. The neural interface allowed him to perceive the battlefield in ways he had never imagined possible. He could feel the ebb and flow of the combat, predicting enemy movements before they happened. "Jack," Aisha's voice came through the comm, tinged with urgency. "We're detecting a massive energy buildup in the enemy flagship. Whatever they're planning, it's big." Harper's mind raced, processing the tactical data flowing through Titan sensors. He saw it then. A colossal ship at the heart of the alien fleet, its hull splitting open to reveal a weapon of terrifying proportions. "Doc, I think it's time to use our trump card," Harper said, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. In the control room, Aisha exchanged a worried glance with Chen. They both knew what Harper was suggesting. A full power shot from the gravitational singularity cannon. It was their most potent weapon, but also their most dangerous. "Jack, the power systems aren't stable enough," Aisha warned. "A full power shot could overload the entire ship. We don't know what that would do to you," connected to the neural interface. Harper's response was immediate and resolute. "We don't have a choice, Doc. Whatever that thing is, I don't think we want to see it fire." Aisha closed her eyes for a moment, weighing the fate of one man against the potential salvation of the entire planet. When she opened them again, her decision was made. "Do it," she said softly. "God help us all." In Titan's cockpit, Harper felt the ship's systems realign, channeling every ounce of available power into the gravitational singularity cannon. Warning signals flashed across his mental landscape, the AI's voice urgent in his mind. Warning. Power levels critical. Weapon discharge may result in catastrophic system failure. Harper gritted his teeth, pushing through the warnings. He could feel the strain on both the ship and his own mind as the weapon charged. The alien flagship loomed before him, its own weapon glowing with ominous energy. Now or never, Harper muttered. With a thought, he triggered the singularity cannon. The world seemed to hold its breath for a moment. Then, reality itself appeared to warp and twist as a beam of distorted space-time lanced out from Titan. It struck the alien flagship dead center, just as the world breaker was about to fire. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then, with a silent flash that seemed to dim the very stars, the massive alien ship imploded. The world breaker's energy, contained and redirected by the singularity, turned inward, crushing the vessel into a point of infinite density. The resulting shockwave rippled out across space, catching the surrounding alien ships in its wake. Hundreds of vessels were torn apart or sent spinning out of control. In the Galactic Confederacy fleet, panic set in. Their flagship, their supreme commander, and their ultimate weapon had been destroyed in an instant. For the first time, the invincible armada knew fear. On Earth, in cities around the globe, humans watched in awe as the sky lit up with the aftermath of the blast. Cheers erupted from London to New York, from Tokyo to Rio de Janeiro. For the first time since the invasion began, victory seemed possible. But aboard Titan, alarms blared as systems overloaded. The neural interface sparked and sputtered, and Harper cried out in agony as feedback surged through his mind. The ship tumbled through the atmosphere, its controls unresponsive. In the control room, Aisha watched in horror as Titan's signal became erratic. "Jack," she shouted into the comm. "Jack, can you hear me?" There was no response. On the tactical display, Titan fell from the sky like a shooting star, trailing fire and debris. As Titan plummeted towards the Earth, the fate of humanity's greatest champion, and perhaps its last hope, hung in the balance. The alien invasion had been dealt a critical blow, but at what cost? And what new challenges would arise in the wake of this momentous battle? The war for Earth's survival was far from over, and the next phase would test humanity's resilience and ingenuity like never before. The turning point. The smoldering wreckage of Titan lay half-buried in the outskirts of London, a testament to both human ingenuity and sacrifice. Emergency teams swarmed the crash site, their faces a mixture of hope and dread as they searched for any sign of life within the twisted metal. Dr. Aisha Patel pushed through the crowd, her heart pounding in her chest. "Let me through," she shouted, flashing her credentials. "I need to get to the cockpit." As she reached the shattered remains of Titan's command center, she saw a team of medics carefully extracting a figure from the wreckage. Major Jack Harper lay motionless on a stretcher, his face pale and drawn, with a trickle of blood running from his nose and ears. "Jack," Aisha whispered, reaching out to touch his hand. To her amazement, his fingers twitched in response. One of the medics turned to her, his expression a mix of awe and concern. "It's a miracle he's alive." The neural feedback should have fried his brain. "We need to get him to a hospital immediately." As they rushed Harper to a waiting medical transport, Aisha's comm device buzzed. It was Dr. Chen. "Aisha, you need to see this," his voice crackled through the speaker. "The alien fleet, it's in disarray." Aisha's eyes widened. She cast one last glance at Harper as he was loaded into the transport, then turned her attention to the sky. What she saw took her breath away. The once organized alien armada was now a chaotic mess of ships, many drifting aimlessly or colliding with one another. The destruction of their flagship and the world-breaker weapon had clearly thrown their entire command structure into chaos. In military bases and government facilities around the world, human leaders watched the unfolding scene with a mixture of disbelief and cautious optimism. At the Pentagon, General Evelyn Stryker stood before a room full of haggard but reinvigorated military officials. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice steady and determined, We have been given a window of opportunity. The alien fleet is in disarray, their command structure shattered. It's time to launch a counteroffensive. A murmur of agreement rippled through the room. For the first time since the invasion began, they had a fighting chance. Stryker continued, outlining a daring plan. We'll coordinate a global assault, targeting their weakened formations. Every ship, every plane, every weapon we have left. We throw it all at them now. As Earth's military forces mobilized for their counterattack, the remnants of the alien fleet struggled to regroup. Aboard one of the few remaining command ships, Sub-Commander Vexella found herself thrust into a position of leadership she had never anticipated. "Status report," she demanded, her multiple eyes scanning the chaotic bridge. A junior officer approached, his posture submissive. "Sub-Commander, we've lost contact with over 60% of our forces. The humans are launching a coordinated attack on our weakened positions. Without the Worldbreaker, we don't have the firepower to repel them." Vexella's mandibles clicked in agitation. The unthinkable had happened. They were losing. To primitives, no less. Her mind raced, weighing their dwindling options. "Initiate emergency protocol Omega-9, she finally announced. "Recall all forces to defensive positions around our remaining capital ships. We need to regroup and reassess." As the alien fleet began its retreat, Earth's forces pressed their advantage. Fighter jets dogfought with alien craft in the skies, while on the ground, tanks and infantry pushed back against the invaders' landing parties. In cities around the world, civilians joined the fight, using whatever weapons they could cobble together. The human spirit, so recently on the brink of being crushed, now burned with a fierce determination. Back in London, Aisha found herself in an emergency war council, hastily assembled in the wake of Titan's game-changing attack. World leaders, connected via secure video links, debated their next moves. President Elena Rodriguez's face filled one of the main screens, her expression grave but hopeful. "Dr. Patel, your Titan project has given us a fighting chance. But we need more. Can you replicate the technology?" Aisha took a deep breath, considering her words carefully. Titan was a prototype, years ahead of anything else we've developed. Replicating it quickly would be challenging. But, she added, seeing the crestfallen looks around her, we might be able to adapt some of its technology to upgrade our existing weapons and defenses. A spark of hope ignited in the room. "How long would that take?" one of the military advisors asked. "Days, maybe weeks," Aisha replied. "But every hour counts now. We'll need all the resources and personnel we can get." Rodriguez nodded decisively. "You'll have whatever you need, Doctor. Humanity's fate rests in your hands." As the meeting adjourned, Aisha's thoughts turned to Jack Harper, still fighting for his life in a nearby hospital. She made her way there, driven by a mixture of concern for her friend and the desperate need to understand what he had experienced. In the ICU, Harper lay surrounded by a bewildering array of medical equipment. His eyes fluttered open as Aisha approached, a weak smile crossing his face. "Hey, Doc," he croaked. "Did we win?" Aisha couldn't help but smile back. "We're getting there. Thanks to you. Jack, what you did, it was incredible. But also incredibly dangerous. Your mind melded with Titan's systems in ways we never anticipated." Harper's expression grew distant, as if remembering something just out of reach. "It was indescribable, Aisha. For a moment, I wasn't just controlling the ship. I was the ship. And I saw something." Aisha leaned in, her scientific curiosity piqued. "What did you see, Jack?" "The future," he whispered. "Or a future. Possibilities." It was like the quantum probability drive didn't just move the ship. It showed me potential timelines, potential outcomes. I saw how to beat them, Aisha. I saw how humanity could win. Aisha's mind reeled at the implications. If Harper had indeed glimpsed possible futures through his connection with Titan's advanced systems, it could change everything. But before she could press for more details, Harper's eyes closed, his body succumbing to exhaustion. As Aisha left the hospital, her mind buzzing with new ideas and possibilities, she knew that the next few days would be crucial. Humanity had been given a second chance, an opportunity to turn the tide of this seemingly impossible war. But the alien invaders, though weakened, were far from defeated. And as Earth rallied its forces for a final push, new challenges and revelations loomed on the horizon. The battle for humanity's survival was entering its most critical phase, and the actions of a few key individuals would determine the fate of an entire species. The war had reached its turning point, and the future hung in the balance. As Aisha hurried back to her lab, ready to unlock the secrets of Titan and Harper's incredible experience, she knew that the greatest test of human ingenuity and determination was yet to come. Humanity's triumph. The next few weeks passed in a blur of frenetic activity. Dr. Aisha Patel and her team worked around the clock, adapting Titan's revolutionary technology to upgrade Earth's existing defenses. Military bases around the world became impromptu research centers as scientists and engineers raced against time to implement the new advancements. Meanwhile, the global counteroffensive against the alien invaders continued. Humanity, emboldened by their first major victory, fought with renewed vigor. Cities were reclaimed, alien landing zones were destroyed, and slowly but surely, the tide of the war began to turn. In orbit, the remnants of the Galactic Confederacy fleet struggled to maintain their position. Sub-Commander Vexala, now the de facto leader of the invasion force, found herself facing a crisis she had never anticipated. "We've lost contact with our home world," a junior officer reported, his voice trembling. "Our long-range communications array was destroyed in the last human assault." Vexala's multiple eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of deep distress in her species. Without support from the Confederacy, their mission was doomed. But retreat would mean facing the wrath of her superiors, assuming they could even make it back to Confederacy space. As she contemplated their dwindling options, alarms blared across the command ship. Multiple human vessels approaching. Another officer shouted, "They're using some kind of spatial distortion technology. Our sensors can barely track them." On Earth, in a secure command center beneath the Pentagon, General Stryker watched with grim satisfaction as the upgraded human fleet engaged the alien forces. Fighters equipped with miniaturized quantum drives danced around the lumbering alien ships, their advanced weapons tearing through once impenetrable shields. "Status report," Stryker barked, her eyes never leaving the tactical display. A young lieutenant responded, barely containing his excitement. "Ma'am, we're breaking through their lines. The new tech is working better than we could have hoped. Their ships can't keep up with our maneuvers, and their defenses are crumbling." Stryker allowed herself a small smile. "Patch me through to the fleet. It's time to end this." As the battle raged in orbit, Dr. Patel found herself back at the hospital, standing beside Major Jack Harper's bed. The pilot had made a miraculous recovery, his mind somehow adapting to the incredible strain of interfacing with Titan's systems. "How are you feeling, Jack?" Aisha asked, studying his face for any signs of lingering trauma. Harper sat up, his eyes clear and focused. "Better than ever, Doc. It's like my mind has been expanded. I can see patterns, possibilities, in ways I never could before." Aisha nodded, having anticipated something like this. "Jack, we need your help. The upgrades we've made to our fleet are working, but we're still missing something. That vision you had of the future, of how to win. We need that insight now." Harper closed his eyes, concentrating. When he opened them again, they seemed to glow with an inner light. "I understand now," he said softly. "It's not about destroying them. It's about communicating." Before Aisha could ask what he meant, alarms blared throughout the hospital. An orderly burst into the room, panic clear on his face. "Doctor, Major, you need to see this." They rushed to the nearest window, and what they saw took their breath away. The sky was filled with shimmering, translucent shapes, Enormous creatures that defied description, their bodies seeming to phase in and out of reality. "My God," Aisha whispered. "What are they?" Harper's voice was filled with awe. "They're the true form of the quantum probability drive, beings that exist across multiple realities, drawn here by our use of their technology." As humanity watched in amazement, the ethereal beings descended upon the battling fleets. Their very presence seemed to disrupt the laws of physics, causing both human and alien ships to power down. In orbit, Sub-Commander Vexala stared in disbelief as one of the cosmic entities approached her ship. Suddenly, her mind was flooded with images and concepts beyond her comprehension. She understood, in that moment, the true insignificance of the Confederacy's petty expansion compared to the vast, interconnected nature of the universe. On Earth, in command centers and living rooms alike, humans experienced a similar epiphany. The beings were not communicating with words, but with pure thought and emotion, sharing the accumulated knowledge and wisdom of countless realities. President Rodriguez, her face pale but determined, addressed the world. "People of Earth, we are witnessing something unprecedented. These beings, they're offering us a chance to join something greater than ourselves, to become part of a cosmic community we never knew existed." In the hospital room, Harper turned to Aisha, his eyes shining with the reflected light of the beings outside. "This is it, Doc. This is how we win. Not through destruction, but through understanding." As the hours passed, the fighting ceased entirely. The alien invaders, their worldview shattered by the cosmic revelation, began to lay down their arms. Humanity, still reeling from the close brush with extinction, cautiously embraced the opportunity for peace. In the days that followed, Earth became a focal point of galactic attention. Representatives from countless alien civilizations arrived, drawn by the emergence of humanity onto the cosmic stage. The Galactic Confederacy, humbled by their defeat and the revelation of greater powers, sued for peace. Dr. Aisha Patel found herself at the forefront of a new era of scientific discovery, working alongside alien scientists to unlock the secrets of the universe. Major Jack Harper, his mind forever altered by his experience with Titan, became Earth's ambassador to the cosmic beings, helping to bridge the gap between humanity and the greater galactic community. As the dust settled and the work of rebuilding began, humanity looked to the stars with new eyes. They had faced extinction and emerged stronger, more united, and with a newfound place in the cosmos. The invasion that had threatened to end human civilization had instead ushered in an unprecedented age of growth, discovery, and interstellar cooperation. Earth, once a small, isolated world on the fringes of the galaxy, now stood at the threshold of a grand cosmic adventure. And as Aisha gazed up at the star-filled sky, now teeming with possibilities, she knew that humanity's greatest journey was just beginning. The end of the war marked not just the survival of the human species, but its evolution into something greater, a civilization ready to take its place among the stars, armed with the indomitable spirit that had seen them through their darkest hour. As night fell on a changed Earth, the shimmer of distant galaxies seemed to whisper of adventures yet to come, of challenges to face, and of a future limited only by the bounds of human imagination and determination.